Gentlemen, I shall trouble the house with very few words in closing this session. In the first place, allow me, on behalf of my colleagues and myself, to express our sincere obligations to you for the spirit of friendliness, the desire to understand and help government which has characterized your utterances. I trust that you may never have any reason to change this attitude, for I need hardly tell you that it is the earnest desire of the government, by taking you completely into their confidence, to win the firm and well-informed support of yourself and of the public whom you represent. May I add that we are always ready to listen to those who criticize our measures, and our houses of legislature are above all the places where such criticism may legitimately be made. This is the last time that you meet. During the 3 years we have sat together and transacted business in this house, much has been achieved and the foundations laid for much more. I say this in no spirit of boastfulness. It is, I hope, a matter of common knowledge that our record is such that we may well be proud of it. The two bills that were discussed at this session, I mean the elementary education and the irrigation bills, were two of the most important measures that have ever been placed before this house. Let us hope that the elementary education bill will stand the test of time and prove of lasting value. I am sorry that the irrigation bill met with much less support than it deserved in our opinion. There was much discussion, and very interesting too, on the time-worn topic of prohibition. Let me make the position of government quite clear on this point. Do not for a moment think that government are against the real aims of the prohibitionists, that they would rather see people remain victims of this habit than lose the revenue which they now derive from this source. Believe me, government are as anxious as anyone in the country to abolish the evil, but they have to look at the problem from 2 points of view. In the first place, though perhaps this is not really so important, it must be remembered that a revenue of 1 crore or even more is involved. Are you prepared to forego this? You must be prepared not only to lose the revenue which you now realize, but also to maintain a large establishments costing some lakhs of rupees annually to enforce your policy. Otherwise, you would be losing your revenue without gaining any compensating advantage. You thus stand to incur a double financial loss. The question next arises, are you quite sure that you will make people give up this habit by an act of parliament, so to say? Government doubt it. Armchair critics there are in plenty who take no account of practical difficulties. It is all very well for them to say that government have only to do away with all liquor shops and the rest will follow as the night follows the day. This is just where we as practical administrators have to join issue with our friends. India is not a country like America or England, where perhaps the prevention of illicit distillation and smuggling would be a comparatively easy matter. We believe that the best, because it is the most practical policy, is to hasten slowly to educate the people to give up this habit and to avoid placing temptation in their way. Progress may be slow, but it will be more sure. This is the policy of government and they are giving effect to it as far as possible. As an instance of the practical difficulties that confront government, you will be interested to hear that some months ago government decided in a generous mood to take away the ganja shops that had been opened in the Irvin Canal area. It was not long before they were faced with the alternatives of stopping the work of reopening the shops. You need not be told what the department recommended and what government agreed to do in the circumstances, and what you too, I venture to think, would have done if you had been in our place. Such are the practical difficulties in the way of a policy of prohibition. It is on the one hand a question of funds and on the other of the education and enlightenment of the people. In short, there seems to be no shortcut to the goal. I feel I must say a word on the newspaper regulation. There never was any intention on the part of government to go back on the promise made to the Legislative Council. There has no doubt been some delay in introducing a draft bill, but that could not be helped. I need not remind this House that it expressed its strong disapproval of the proposal for the repeal of the regulation when the subject was discussed here a year ago. Government are glad to note that in the present session too, it was as far as they could judge the unanimous view of the House. The mover of the resolution withdrew his resolution on that understanding that a press regulation was both desirable and necessary in the state, and that what the House wanted was that the present regulation should be repealed and replaced by a less drastic measure. Government agree with this view and will endeavour a draft bill which, while it will tend to prevent the dissemination of grossly unfair criticism of their policy and actions, will ensure to the press a reasonable measure of freedom. The necessity of improving the last of the inferior servants of government has often been pressed by you on government. I am glad to announce that government have now been able to take satisfactory action in the matter. They have decided to abolish the distinction between superior and inferior servants in regard to the scale of gratuity admissible to them, and to allow the latter a full month's pay for each year of service in the same way as in the case of superior government servants. The minimum period of service for earning pension will be reduced to few years.